today. And very nice. Our faculty have made good arrangements for this program. The learning disability, the concept has evolved more than 100 years ago, and it has come in a long way in terms of understanding and identifying and management issues. And I just went through literature, Canadian literature, and it was very shocking regarding the statistics on learning disability in Canada. And of course, we don't have much of such statistics in India. And it says about that, 35% of school children drop out, the LD children, 35%. And 50% of adolescents suicide were diagnosed to have learning disability. So on one side, we talk about the academics and other issues. So it has a lot of impact on the social aspect too. So I think this program will give an insight, as the theme of the program itself says, it's an insight into learning disability. Definitely, I'm sure that it's going to develop an insight in us to go further into this in India. So I am very happy and looking forward to the speakers, wonderful speakers we have, and students have participated in good number and with a lot of enthusiasm. And our students have prepared posters for this event. Very nice of them. And I'm happy to inaugurate the poster of the students who have made it. So I welcome you all again on behalf of Vinayagar Mission Research Foundation University, and on my own behalf and on behalf of the organizers. I welcome you all and wishing a very happy 1.5 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, I published the posters and pamphlet prepared by BAFLP students of AVEd Medical College as part of Learning Disability Awareness Month program. This is the poster done by 6th semester BAFLP students of AVMC. And this is another poster from the same group on learning disability. This poster is on dyscalculia and is prepared by the 3rd semester students of our college. And the last one, the pamphlet on learning disability prepared by 5th semester students from the same college. Now we are moving on to the first talk on learning disability, delivered by Ms. Amoolya. Ms. Amoolya pursued her Bachelor in Speech and Hearing and Master's in Speech Language Pathology from All India Institute of Speech and Hearing in 2010 and 2012, respectively. Presently pursuing her Ph.D. from Aish, Mysore, and her thesis domain is on learning disability. Her area of expertise are language disorders, language acquisition, and cognitive communicative disorders in children and adults. She has got 2 international and 4 national publications in her name, and her major projects focused on accuracy and syntactic measures of written language in biliterate children with learning disability, as well as grammaticality in written language of bilingual biliteral children with learning disability. Currently, Ms. Amoolya works as an assistant professor in Nasima Institute of Speech and Hearing, Bangalore. She would be highlighting what is learning disability in this session. On behalf of AVMC and all our participants here, I welcome you, ma'am. I hand over this platform to Amoolya.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Today I would be talking about introducing the topic learning disability. Is my screen visible?
Amoolya, please share your screen again. Yeah, it's getting visible. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So thank you for the wonderful welcome. And now I'll be introducing the topic of learning disability. I'll be talking about the definition and the characteristics and the causes, and also certain predictors, the certain characteristics which can help us identify dyslexia. Okay. So the first definition, so this is by National Joint Committee on Learning Disability. They say that learning disability is a heterogeneous group of disorders in the sense that the symptom complex exhibited by one individual may not be equal or may not be similar to the symptom complex exhibited by another individual. Okay, and whenever we think about learning disability, everybody tends to think about only difficulties in reading. But this definition also stresses that they have significant difficulties in the acquisition and use of listening, speaking, reading, as well as writing, and reasoning and mathematical abilities also. So these disorders are intrinsic to the individual, and they are thought to be due to a central nervous system dysfunction. And although learning disabilities may occur concomitantly with other disabilities such as sensory impairment, intellectual disabilities, emotional disturbance, etc., they're not the direct result of these conditions or influences. So this is another definition by British Dyslexia Association. Here also they stress that people or children with learning disabilities have difficulties in the area of development of literacy and language related skills. And they also outline the processes that are affected, such as phonological processing, rapid naming, working memory, processing speed, and the automatic development of skills. And these skills are not on par with the individual's other cognitive abilities. That is, the individual's cognitive abilities are far better than these processes that they exhibit. Okay. So children with LD, they are not primarily mentally retarded, or they're not emotionally disturbed, they're not culturally deprived or sensorily handicapped. These conditions may occur in conjunction with the learning disability, but these conditions are not the cause for the learning disability in these children. So there is a myth that all learning disabilities are reading disabilities, but actually learning disability is an umbrella term which includes academic as well as non-academic difficulties. So in non-academic difficulties, they might have visuomotor problems, that is problems with fine motor activities such as tying their shoelaces, writing, etc., and gross motor activities also such as catching a ball, etc. They might also have problems with phonological processing, certain language problems, and memory problems involving both visual memory, that is remembering what they have seen, and in auditory memory, that is remembering what they have heard. And they might also have certain perceptual problems such as visual and auditory discrimination, figure ground discrimination, etc. And in academic problems, reading is just one of the problems, and 60% of individuals with learning disability have a reading problem. Okay, there might also be writing difficulties and spelling difficulties and difficulties with math. So these are some of the common types of LDs. Dyslexia, which includes problems in reading, writing, spelling, and speaking. Dysgraphia is mainly difficulty with writing. Dyscalculia is difficulty with math. And auditory processing disorder is when a child has difficulty hearing differences between sounds. That is when you take up minimal pairs such as pat and mat. If the child feels that these two words are the same, then the child might be thought to have an auditory processing disorder. And there is also visual processing disorder, wherein they might have a difficulty in interpreting visual information. So now let us look into some of the causes of LD. The exact cause of LD is not known, but there are certain genetic influences that have been proposed. Okay, experts have noticed that LDs tend to run in families, and they think that heredity could play a role. But researchers are still debating whether LDs are really genetic, or or LD tends to run in families because children learn and model what their parents do. That is, children learn from their parents. So if the parent has an LD, obviously they would be lacking in certain skills, and those skills they might not be able to transfer or teach their children. So LD might tend to run in families, is what certain other group of researchers say. So next is problems in brain development. So some experts think that LD may be traced to brain development both before and after birth. So there are certain prenatal, natal, and postnatal causes that are associated with other communication difficulties also. Okay, such as low birth weight, lack of oxygen, premature birth, all might be risk factors for developing LDs. And those young children who receive head injuries might also be at risk for developing LDs. So there are certain environmental impacts also, such as exposure to certain environmental toxins, such as lead. So lead can be found in certain old homes in the form of lead paint or lead water pipes. These are thought to be contributing to LD. And poor nutrition early in life may also lead to LDs in later life. And excessive energy. So usually most children are a bundle of energy, but when this energy becomes abnormally high, so that it affects a child's ability to learn, that is when an LD might result. Okay, that is when a child might be termed as being hyperactive. So the child cannot sit still, and the child may face difficulties in normal interactions with other children of his age, and they may have difficulty in focusing on one task at a time. Okay, so hyperactivity may also lead to LD. And lack of attention. So this occurs in conjunction with hyperactivity. So they may not attend to what you are telling them, okay, and they may ignore you, and they may also tend to misplace things like books, pencils, toys, etc. So this is a common complaint in children with LD. The parents complain that they often lose their things at school, that is their books, their pencils, erasers, etc. Okay, and they may also have problems following simple instructions like picking up his toys. Okay, if you give them, if you instruct them to pick up their toys and keep it in the cupboard, okay, in the second shelf or the second drawer. So such consecutive 2-step or 3-step instructions, the child may have difficulty in following. This may be due to a lack of attention or certain other problems intrinsic to the individual with LD. So after the causes, now let us look into the characteristics of LD. So learning disabilities usually first show up when a person has difficulty in speaking, reading, writing, figuring out a math problem, communicating with a parent, or paying attention in class. So certain children are diagnosed in grade school, that is in middle school. Okay, when a parent or teacher notices that the child cannot follow directions. So for example, if you give them simple directions in classroom, such as open your history textbook to page number 101 to line 3. So these kind of 3-step, 4-step instructions, the child may have difficulty in following. Okay, and they may also have difficulty in following the directions for a game. They might not understand the rules of a game, and they struggle to do certain work that he or she would be able to do easily. Okay, that is their peers, the same age children would do it easily, but these children struggle. Okay, but normally it is diagnosed in grade school, that is middle school, like 3rd or 4th grade. But certain children, they cover up their learning issues, and so that they develop their problems are detected later, as in high school. Okay, so when school work and life gets more complicated, okay, when they have higher demands, their problems tend to show up in a big way. Okay, and these children have trouble learning the alphabet. They have trouble with rhyming words or connecting letters to their sounds. Now, if you give a letter P, they do not know that P makes the P sound. Okay, so they have difficulty with connecting letters to their sounds, and they may make many mistakes when reading aloud and repeat and pause often. So there may be substitution errors, omission errors, and deletion errors while reading. For example, they might read run as sun. Okay, so such substitution errors they may do while reading. Okay, and they repeat because they are not able to decode, and they pause often. Okay, and even if they are successful at reading, they may not understand what he or she reads. That is, their reading comprehension is affected, and they may have real trouble with spelling. And with respect to writing, they have very messy handwriting, and the way they hold the pencil is very awkward. Okay, and even if they know certain concepts, they may struggle to express it in writing. Okay, and they may also learn language late, and they have a limited vocabulary. So most of the parents say that when you probe in deeper about their speech and language milestones, you will get to know that they achieve their speech and language milestones late. Okay, and they have a limited vocabulary. What happens is when a child learns to read, that is when more and more new words gets added in their lexicon. Because a child with LD struggles to read, okay, these words, new words are not added into their mental lexicon, and that is when they have limited vocabulary. They may have trouble remembering the sounds that letters make, and they have difficulty in hearing slight differences between words. Okay, they may confuse words, minimal pairs, such as pat, mat, as I already told in the auditory processing difficulties that they have. And they may have trouble in understanding jokes, comic strips, and sarcasm. So these relate to the metalinguistic and metacognitive difficulties that these children might have. So meta means higher. Higher language skills are affected in these children. So they may have trouble in following directions, as I already mentioned, and they may mispronounce words or use a wrong word that sounds similar. They may mispronounce words in the sense, they may say l for r, okay, and they use a wrong word that sounds similar in the sense, for son, sun, they might use sun, sun. Both the words sound similar, but the usage of the word is wrong. So they may also have trouble in organizing what he or she wants to say, and when it comes to a single sentence talking, they may easily talk, but when it comes to a larger units such as discourse, and if they'll have trouble in organizing such larger units. Okay, and they may not be able to find the words that they need for writing or conversation. That is, they have word finding difficulties. Okay, both in terms of writing and conversation. Okay, and they might have issues with pragmatics, such as they may not follow the social rules of conversation, such as taking turns, and they may stand too close to the listener. And they may confuse math symbols. That is, they may confuse the addition symbol with the division symbol. Okay, and they may misread numbers. Okay, they may read 6 as 9 or vice versa. Okay, and they may not be able to retell a story in order. That is, they cannot tell what happened first, what happened second, what happened next, etc. And they may not know where to begin a task or how to go on from there. So they also have developmental problems. That is, both their speech and language milestones and motor milestones are delayed. Okay, besides being late in walking, they may also display uncoordinated movements, and they may show difficulties in performing certain motor activities, such as fastening the buttons or tying shoelaces, and they may have an awkward grasp over objects. Okay, and they have poor understanding of concepts, such as regular activities such as brushing their teeth, dressing themselves, etc. Also, they might have difficulties, and they may have difficulties in certain concepts like color, size, or shape. Okay, and they may get mixed up with the previous day and the next, and they may not be able to understand the concept of time. So, and they may display differences in skill levels. That is, a child is exceptionally good in one area and very extremely poor in the other area. So I was working with a child who had very poor spelling skills, and even while reading he would make a lot of errors, but his reading comprehension was very good. So such differences in skill levels in one area, and deficit in one area and being extremely good in another area can also be seen. Okay, and they may also have difficulty in distinguishing between their right and left sides. Okay. So this is a writing sample of a child with learning disability. Here we can notice that the child has not capitalized the first letters in the first two sentences, and the period at the end of sentences is also missing. Okay, here in the first sentence, instead of the dog is barking, the child has written the dog is bay. Okay, the child has got just the first two letters correct. Okay, and the second sentence should be cat saw mouse. So instead of saw, instead of W, the child has written Y here. Okay, so this is a substitution error. And boy is writing. The third sentence should be the boy is writing. So the child has written boys wits. So as the word becomes longer, the child is displaying difficulty here. Okay, and the fourth sentence is the girl is reading. So the child here has transposed the two letters A and D. Okay, instead of READING, the child has written REDAING. Okay. So in this sample, we can see that the child has crossed out many times. So here the children with LD tend to make a lot of mistakes, and they cross out many times until they finally arrive at the proper answer. And here in this sample, we can see that instead of doing, the child has written dodging. So the child has added an unnecessary letter here, DOGING. Okay, and here instead of while writing jump, while writing the letter P, the child has not put the vertical line properly. Okay, so here we can see poor letter formation in these children. Okay, and here the child has got a comment from the teacher to write neatly, pay attention to what is given on the board, and copy it down correctly. So children have a lot of difficulty in copying from the board. So this is one of the very common complaints in children with LD. Okay, they make mistakes while copying down from the board. Okay, and this is a drawing sample. In here the child has drawn himself and his cousin. Okay, he has named himself. Okay, his name is Dhavin. So here the child has missed out the vowel. So missing out vowels is one of the characteristics of children with LD. Okay, but here in the left hand corner, you can see that the child has written DHAVIN. He has spelled his name correctly here down in the leftmost corner, but here he has missed out a vowel. So this is also one of the characteristic of LD, wherein once they might spell a word correctly, but another time to spell the same word, they might make mistakes. Okay. So now let us briefly look into what is verbal and non-verbal LD. Verbal LD is when they have difficulty with words, both spoken and written. And the most common and best known LD is verbal LD is dyslexia. Okay, wherein they have trouble recognizing or processing the letters and the sounds associated with them. Okay, therefore, children will have trouble with reading and writing tasks or assignments. Okay, non-verbal LD, they have difficulty processing what they see. They have difficulty in making sense of visual details such as numbers on a blackboard. Okay, they may confuse the plus sign with the sign for division. Okay. So I got a query that how to identify children with LD in these times of COVID-19, wherein they are not going to school and only parents are dealing with children, and what parents can do at home to identify these children. So I have written certain early indicators of dyslexia. Okay, these are certain practical tips through which dyslexia or learning disability can be identified by the parents. So in a preschool child, they will have trouble in learning the letters of the alphabet or the akshara in the Indian languages. Okay, this can be one of the earliest indicators. Okay, and they have difficulty learning nursery rhymes because they have trouble with rhyming. Okay, they may also mispronounce words. Okay, and they have difficulty in naming objects and colors. In a primary school child, the characteristics seen can be they have a slow progress in reading. So compared to their peers, their progress in reading is very slow, and they exhibit very slow and effortful reading. Okay, and they have difficulty in reading from board, and they have difficulty in reading unknown words, and they may make numerous reading errors such as substitution, omission errors. Like I said, they may read run for sun, etc. Okay, and the reading is slow and labored. Reading is very difficult for them, and they may have poor spelling, okay, compared to their peers. And in a secondary school child, the oral performance is better than written performance. That is, they might orally say out the answers, but when you ask them to write down the answers, they have a lot of difficulties. And these children also exhibit slow labored reading, and they also misread words, showing errors of substitution, omission, etc. And because they know their difficulties, they have a fear of reading aloud, and they also have poor spelling abilities. And there are certain additional characteristics through which you can identify LD. One thing is if there is a language delay, that is a red flag, that is a high risk factor that your child may develop LD. And if there is problem with phonological awareness, that is if I call it playing with sounds. So if the child has difficulty, if you tell the child if you give a word and you tell the child to substitute a letter, for example, if you give the word pat and you tell the child to remove and add m instead of it, and then what is the word that you get? The child might have difficulty with that. That is substitution, and child may have difficulty in deletion. For example, if you give the word fat and you ask the child to remove fur and say what comes, so the child will have difficulty in that. Okay, and similar way, addition also, the child might have difficulty. For example, if you give the word act and you ask the child to add the sound m to it, and what comes. So all these processes the child has difficulty. So all these processes together are called as phonological awareness. So along with that, they might also have orthographic decoding abilities. That is, they may not decoding in simpler terms means to be able to read, to make out the word, what it is. So they might read no for on, and was for saw, and quarter for Qatar. So in this last example, the child might not have the word Qatar in his or her lexicon. So the child just looks at the sounds, the letters Q, T, A, R, and it matches these letters with the words available in the child's lexicon. It matches the template, and it retrieves the word quarter, which is not correct. So they have difficulty in orthographic decoding abilities, and reading fluency might also be affected. So the child may not be able to read fluently. That is, I told you, they pause often and they repeat, read and reread whatever they have read again and again. So reading fluency is affected. And reading
Excuse me,
comprehension.
Amoolya, can I just interrupt?
Yes.
Since we are on short duration of time, can you please speed up a bit more?
Yeah.
It's going on well, but a bit more, because Uma ma'am is having some difficulties. So yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
fine.
Almost done. Yeah.
Okay, fine, Amoolya. Thank you.
Okay. So they may also have problems with reading comprehension, and reading time is affected. That is, they may take a long time to read. But in certain cases, the child might not take a long time to read, but the child reads incorrectly, and their vocabulary is also affected. Okay. So coming to today's topic, LD in hearing loss. Hearing loss can be regarded as a risk factor for LDs. So research says that approximately 23% of the deaf or hard of hearing population might have a specific learning disability. So however, the source of reading problems in these children is unclear, whether it is due to their learning disability or due to the limited exposure to the auditory oral language due to their hearing loss. So when dealing with individuals with hearing loss with reading problems, we have to remember that we have to be ready to explore the possibility that these children could have a learning disability that is not directly the result of their hearing loss also. So these are the references. Thank you.
And thank you, Amoolya. It was a wonderful presentation. A lot of information was it's just like we were waiting for a long time. I am directly moving on to the next session, the interview session. I would like to invite our international speaker, Dr. Soman, to the interview panel. Before that, few points about her. She is a teacher of the students who are deaf and have hard of hearing, and listening and spoken language specialist, as well as auditory verbal educator. She has been working with children who are DHS, their families, and professionals for more than 15 years. She has got her doctorate in hearing and speech science from Vanderbilt University in 2017. As Director of Professional Development, Soman develops and teaches courses on listening and spoken language intervention for speech language pathologists, audiologists, teachers of DHS, as well as mainstream teachers. She also mentors professionals pursuing listening and spoken language specialist certification. I request you, ma'am, to take over the session. And I also would like to request Ms. Amoolya to take part in the interview session. Ms. Radhika Mohan, Assistant Professor from AVMC, would be moderating the session. On to you, Ms. Radhika.
Hello, hi Uma. Good to have you here. I know that you're very busy on your schedule. Still, you found out the time to attend to our webinar. A big thanks for that. Directly moving on with the questions. So the first interview question would be, I hope you can see. I hope you can see the screen. So the first interview question, which I am posting towards you, is can you please define learning disability in your own terms? That is, in a very simple term, how will you explain learning disability? And kindly explain the impact of hearing loss in learning and how hearing loss associated with learning disability affect children in real terms. So can you please continue on answering with those, Uma?
Sure, sure. Thank you. I want to start by just thanking everybody for this opportunity. It is a real pleasure to learn with all of you and learn from all of you. And I just want to congratulate Amoolya on a beautiful presentation that clearly defined learning disability. My job is so much easier because of your presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. And just, talk a little bit about what it is that, hold on just a second, it's giving me a little bit of a question here about sharing. Okay.
We'll just wait for some time for Uma ma'am
Sorry,
to join back. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
she's back. Fine, fine. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. It just kicked me out.
Okay. That is okay. That is okay.
Yeah, yeah. So while I set up the other screen, learning disability, as Amoolya said, is a change in, or is a very simply, it is about how children learn and what difficulties they have as they are learning, right? So that is the very simple definition. And for the purposes of our conversation today, I think it is important that we think about what it means to have learning disability in addition to another aspect that is impacting learning. All right, can you see my slide? Okay, it's coming up now. Do you see this? It says hearing loss and learning disabilities.
Yes, we can perfectly see the
Okay,
slides.
perfect. All right. So I can share this with you later on, but I have nothing new to add to what Amoolya said other than it is about language and math and listening, thinking, speaking, reading, writing, spelling. All of that can be affected. And as long as it is in addition to and not because of a visual, hearing, or motor disability, we consider that a significant learning disability. As Amoolya was talking about what are all the characteristics we see, one of the things that stood out to me was, as you are thinking about the characteristic, then you can imagine that a lot of this can happen if a child does not have proper auditory input. So if a child cannot hear because the child is deaf or hard of hearing, the child might not be able to learn the language that is around them. If a child cannot use and understand that language, obviously learning at school will be difficult. So reading and writing, languages and second languages and languages of math, science, and social science. So let's go to the example that Amoolya was doing, right? She said, maybe the child will read run for sun. So as a teacher of the deaf, I'm thinking, Did the child read this run for sun because the child did not hear what I said? Because the child did not hear the difference between r and s? Because the child cannot produce the difference between r and s? Or is it because the child is having difficulty reading? So when I am thinking about impact of hearing loss and learning disabilities together, I am having to try and separate out what is because the child does not have the listening or the language or the speech skills, and what is because there is something more going on. So in my career, I have worked with children who are deaf and hard of hearing, all the way from little kids, 3-year-olds, even younger, and all the way up to high school. And right now I work with several children who are older, and the biggest factor there is figuring out what is what. Why is this child struggling? So if you look at the next slide, if the child continues to struggle with run and sun, writing the word writing, copying from the board, even when we have figured out that they can hear you, they can understand the language, they have the speech skills to do it, even after high quality intensive intervention, then it is, when you start thinking about, maybe there is something more here. And for children who are deaf and hard of hearing, some of the examples of children I have worked with are, they know their ABCs, but they really have a hard time remembering the alphabet in that order. Now, this is not related directly to hearing. This is not an impact of hearing. Or I have a student who remembers information on one day, but then forgets it on a different day. Like, there is no real guarantee that every day the child's memory skills will be the same. So there is some fluctuating memory issues. And then sometimes when there is learning disability present, you see that the children sort of get to a level and they get stuck. Going past that becomes difficult. And that could be an indication that there is hearing loss plus a learning disability. The other factor that I commonly see, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on in terms of executive function, but there's a concept called cognitive load. Okay, so think about it this way. Think about it as you are in the classroom as a student, and the teacher is writing on the board, and the teacher has written some math problems. The teacher is saying, like, it's an equation. I don't even know the answer. It says, like, 42 divided by 7, and then there is the bracket, multiplied by 5, divided by whatever. What is the total? So the first thing the child has to do is look at the numbers and then copy them down. Going from here to here, following the sequence of those numbers, not writing division instead of subtraction or addition instead of subtraction, is the first step. And we know that can be related to difficulties with learning disabilities, or it could be related to vision issues, right? This might be a child who can't see clearly. So we have to think about that. Second, now the child has everything on the paper. Can the child see it and solve it? So that would require knowing the mathematical skills of addition, subtraction. But then it might also require the skills of actually being able to do it. So you see it, you copy it, you have some motor movement, then you have some cognitive development, cognitive skills, and you are going step by step. Now you have to know the answer, and then you have to write it on your worksheet. So there are multiple steps, which then creates this load on your brain, right? You have to do all these things. Instead, if I said to a child, tell me 42 divided by 7. Child tells me. Then I say, okay, now multiply it by 5. Child does it. Now subtract 3. Child does it. Now tell me the answer. In that case, I have reduced the cognitive load by a substantial amount. And when I see children struggling with cognitive load, I start to wonder, is this more than hearing loss? Because it can get very confusing in terms of what is because of hearing loss, what is because of a learning disability. And the examples that were given, you might see all of these behaviors. The difficulty paying attention, the not being able to understand, the not knowing the answers, difficulty with mathematics, all of that in children who are deaf and hard of hearing, because they are having difficulty to listen and learn and use language. So that would be the definition of learning disability for me, which is exactly what we heard in the presentation before, as well as just hearing loss and hearing loss plus learning disability. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I can try and answer them.
Any questions on this? If there are any queries, please put on the chat box. Okay, I guess we'll answer to all the queries towards the end of the presentation. So I'm posting the next question for you. So the next question is, when are learning disabilities in a child with hearing loss usually diagnosed? And we all know about executive function and self-regulation, but what exactly is that? And how does it affect? What is the role in children with hearing loss, executive function and self-regulation? On to you, Uma.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent questions, Radhika. And these are very tricky questions because just tricky questions. So let me first say to all of you, if this is a new confusing concept, you're in good company. I often see that it takes several years of experience to actually understand diagnosis of learning disabilities in children who are deaf and hard of hearing. So typically, if a child has had early auditory access, if the child got therapy, any kind of therapeutic management to deal with the hearing loss, the child is learning to speak or the child is learning to sign, then you expect to see certain progress. At around 5 to 7 years of age, when schoolwork and reading and mathematics becomes a focus, you start seeing who might have something extra, some extra challenges happening. And in that case, I would say 5 to 7 is a good age to start thinking about, is there a learning disability, and then doing some additional testing. Typically, what I see is, as teachers, we might suspect it around 5 to 7, but by the time we actually do the testing and the observations and the extra teaching to see if this is an issue of teaching or if it is an issue of the child having a learning disability, it takes a couple years almost to know that. So the way, and this is how I have been doing it in the US school systems. We want to do a holistic approach. We want to look at multiple things. So the first one is you want data. You want assessments and evaluations of children who are using, it's reading, it's language, it's writing, it's mathematics, and so on. These can be norm referenced. So it's like most children who are 10 years old can do this. That's what the test is saying, but this child who is 10-year-olds cannot do this or something like that, or is much delayed. You also want observation of learning. So for children who are deaf and hard of hearing, just giving them a test is not going to tell you anything about their learning disabilities. So you have to do very deep observation of learning. So it might be to the effect of, you say, okay, this week we are going to focus on 10 new vocabulary words. and I'm going to teach 10 new vocabulary words, and I'm going to see how the child learns. In 1 week, did the child learn the 10 words that were presented? Did the child only learn them expressively, or did the child only learn them receptively, or did the child learn them expressively and receptively? Can the child generalize it? How many words did the child learn in 1 week? And you might ask me, how many words should a child learn? And that's a tricky answer. A lot of it comes from the age of the child. A lot of it comes from knowing what children can typically do. In my teaching, in my practice, I have seen that children can typically learn 8 to 10 words every week if they are taught well. A child who is struggling to learn the words, maybe the teacher isn't teaching the words the way the child learns. Maybe that is the information, right? This child does not learn when you just tell them the word. You have to show the word, you have to act out the word, you have to connect it with something else, you have to sing a song about it. Whatever that learning profile is, that learning pattern is. So you have to know what the knowledge of, you have to know what is typical for children who are deaf and hard of hearing, and then take all of this into account to look at the diagnosis of learning disabilities in different areas. Again, I'll bring back to you what was said in the previous presentation about cognitive skills. These are children who should have regular average intelligence. Sometimes they have higher than average intelligence, but it is not showing up in their schoolwork, in their ability to read, write, learn, spell, count. And that is also another feature of diagnosing this learning disability. If this is the path you expected, child with hearing loss, this is therapy, this is teaching, really good therapy, really good teaching, we expect the child to be here at age 5. But in spite of all of that, the child is somewhere here and on a different path with some different struggles, then I would say you have to seriously consider learning disabilities. I also just want to put out, we have been working in India with professionals who are in India through the nonprofit Listening Together for the last several years. And one of the problems we have noticed is the lack of really good assessments. A lot of the assessments, a lot of the tests are tests that were created in the US or UK or Australia, and they are created and they are testing, they are based on children who are in these countries, children who are speaking English. So sometimes it becomes a problem to use that criteria for children who are not in those situations. So I just want to warn you, and I'm sure Amoolya can talk more about this, that if we are using a test that was not created keeping in mind the child you are using it for, then it can be tricky. You want to make sure that you aren't just translating a test, because that can be, again, invalid. That might not give you the right information. So diagnosis of learning disabilities, in addition to hearing loss, can be quite challenging. Radhika has asked me to talk a little bit about executive function and self-regulation. And what I would like to guide you towards, and I'm going to send this to you and you can get it from your organizers, is this guide to executive function, which has been created by the Harvard Center on the Developing Child. And very simply, executive function and self-regulation is the steering wheel in your brain that is guiding your thoughts, your actions, and your behavior. So imagine an airport, okay? Lots of planes are coming in, lots of planes are taking off, lots of planes are waiting, lots of planes need to be cleaned, lots of planes need to be moved around, lots of planes need food, passengers are going from here to there, the plane needs to be at the right gate. There is a lot of things happening. Who makes the decision about when a plane takes off, when a plane lands, who needs to wait in line, who needs to keep circling the airport? It is the air traffic control. The air traffic control is keeping all of this in mind and making sure there are no crashes, everybody gets out on time, so on and so forth. That is what executive function is for your brain. It is what is helping you make plans, follow through on your actions, and manage your behavior. And there are three aspects to this. The first one is working memory. So working memory, the example would be very simply, I say some numbers and you have to repeat them, okay? Fingers on the chat. If I say 5 digits, so listen to the whole thing and then type. All right, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can somebody type in chat what they heard? Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. You guys are listening. You guys are paying attention. You are showing me that you are remembering in your short-term memory the numbers I just presented. Excellent. Okay, next one. Ready? 21749344044. I just jumped to 10 numbers and some of you caught it and some of you maybe missed a number. But just comparing the 5 numbers to the 10 numbers I gave you, which one was easy, which one was hard? The first one or the second one? You can just type in chat. Which one was easy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the second one, the 217 wala. Yeah, the first one was easy, no doubt. Now think about this. In 30 minutes, if I ask you, what were the numbers I told you? There's a good chance you're going to remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It has a sequence, it's something you're familiar with. 217, that whatever that number was, that was a whole other number. So it probably did not go from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. Now, working memory is when you take information, you keep it in your mind, you change it a little bit, and you give it back. All right, you guys ready? This time, I'm going to say a number, and you have to type it back to me backwards. So if I say 1, 2, 3, you are going to type 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody ready? Fingers on the chat. Let's start easy. 2, 4, 6. Type it to me backwards. Ah, you guys are good at this. 6, 4, 2. Nice. All right, here comes the next one. 8, 2, 6, 9. Oh, very good. There's some switching between the 8 and the 2, but everybody got the 9, 6. All right. Let's do one more. Ready? 719 214 811. This wasn't as fast as the other one. Could you do it? You could, because you guys have strong working memory. Do you think this would be easy for a child who has a hearing loss? It would have some challenges, right? There are children who do well with this, but we know from research that while in the general population, in children who are not deaf and hard of hearing, 16% of children are at risk to have delays and deficits in their executive function. We know that up to 40% of children who are deaf and hard of hearing might have issues with executive function. This is research that is being done by, I'm just gonna type the name in here if anybody wants to look it up. Dr. David Pisoni is the researcher, and he's the one who is looking at this in children who use hearing aids, children who use cochlear implants. So now imagine being in the classroom where the teacher is telling you all these different things, or you are at home and you know your mother is saying, "Beta, do this, then that, and the child is like, okay, what are the 3 things I'm supposed to do?" So that becomes an issue with working memory. We see that in children with hearing loss. There is a good chance we see that in many children who have different kinds of learning disability, and that becomes challenging. The other aspect here is that of mental flexibility. And mental flexibility is actually closely associated with attention. You see children with ADHD or ADD, and sometimes you see children who don't seem to have ADD or ADHD, but they just have difficulty with figuring out what to pay attention on, figuring out what to ignore, and then, you know, just changing what they need to do and shift their focus, shift their attention, understand different rules in different settings. The testing for this is very interesting. So generally children are shown like pictures of arrows. Some arrows are going up, some arrows are going down. There may be white arrows and there may be black arrows and red arrows and whatever. And they just have to look and go up, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, 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 up, down, up, up. How quickly they do it is what is, you know, what does you record. Then the test changes and it says, oh, this time we are going to play a game. Every time you see an arrow that is up, don't call it up, call it down. So now the child has to look and say, oh, I see up, but I have to remember to say down. So you go down, up, down, 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 up. This is a task that is tricky even for adults, even for children who are typically developing, and that is a key feature of executive function, that kind of mental flexibility. Finally, the third feature is that of self-control. Sometimes we have children who are impulsive. Sometimes we as adults are impulsive, right? I want to do this now. You think, oh yeah, maybe I should eat ice cream, but no, I shouldn't eat ice cream. Then I'll get a sore throat, or I will get a cold, or I will, you know, gain weight, or I don't want to spend money on ice cream, whatever that is. Self-control, the ability to figure out what is the priority now, what do I need to focus on, what are my goals. This is where children have difficulty managing their time. This is where children have difficulty figuring out what is most important. These are children who struggle to complete their work. These are children who have extremely messy book bags and desks and workspace. Organization is very, you know, messy. And that overall is executive function and self-regulation. And as people in speech language pathology and audiology, I would highly encourage you to think about more than just the communication, but what in the brain is helping have this communication be successful. So that would be my suggestion to you. I see a comment that this was a good explanation. Well, wait till you get to this website. They have videos that explain, they have examples of what it looks like in babies and preschoolers and early childhood and middle school and adults. They have activity guides for all of this. And I highly encourage you to check it out. I will, you know, share this and you will have all of these resources. I added a couple more resources, which are not exactly the topic today, but I think it will give you more insight into hearing loss and learning disabilities. So the second one, Deaf and Hard of Hearing Students with Disabilities, is a chapter written by Christy Borders and colleagues. And in this chapter, they talk about what are all the different types of disabilities that students who are deaf and hard of hearing can have. How do you tell which one is which? They give you some ideas for evaluations, and that is really good. RaisingDeafKids.org has a really nice, very simple article about, is this the difficulty because of hearing loss, or is this a difficulty because the child actually has ADHD, and how to tell that apart. And ASHA, the American Speech Language Hearing Association, has a really nice article about how do you tell the difference between hearing loss and how do you tell the difference between autism. I know this is not exactly learning disability focused, but it all sort of goes together. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions or comments, you are welcome to message me. And we do webinars related to hearing loss and all of these issues on our website, Listening Together. You're welcome to follow us, join us, come to these. The webinars are always free. We'll have new ones starting in January. And with that, that is the big piece I wanted to present today. I'm happy to take any questions because I unfortunately have to go in 5 minutes. It is 8:45 in the morning in my part of the world, and I start seeing a student at 9 o'clock. So I want to make sure I get to that on time. It's an online student, so not a big deal, but I can answer questions for 5 minutes if that's okay, before you hear from Ms. Amoolya.
Okay, thank you, Uma, for the wonderful answers to the questions. You have really enlightened us. As you are on a busy schedule, I guess I'll take 1 or 2 questions. So
Sure.
there is a question by Harshita. She asks, in case of only learning disability without hearing impairment, what is the management that is preferred for cognitive load?
Yeah, that's a great question, Harshita. I think cognitive load is different for different children. And it is almost like, you know, how you go to the gym to get strong muscles. You start with 2 kilo weights and then you go to 10 kilo weights and one day 25 kilo weights. You have to practice building cognitive load just the same way. So I would suggest start with something very simple, see what the child can do and keep pushing them forward. So one therapeutic strategy to use with any child is to say, I'm going to tell you 3 things. So you're already telling them there are going to be 3 things. You will do this, then you will do that, then you will do that. Do you remember what the 3 things were? Yes, yes, yes. And you are building that memory for the cognitive load and for the steps into the child's practice, so that you can manage that cognitive load better and train children to have higher cognitive loads.
Okay, thank you, Uma. And one more thing, Listening Together also conducts listening and spoken language certification in association with AVEd. Is that right, Uma? Yeah.
Yeah. So the AVEd
yes.
Academy is the one providing the listening and spoken language certification, auditory verbal therapist or educator. One of the requirements for that is continuing education courses where you have to learn more about hearing loss. Listening Together provides those courses to students, to professionals, teachers, therapists, audiologists. Throughout the year, we provide courses in English and Hindi or Marathi. So that's one aspect. But then to get your listening and spoken language specialist certification, you also need to be working with a certified therapist and getting mentoring. That is also something that Listening Together offers.
So the academy is offering most of the courses online, right? Only the clinical practice has to be done in terms of a specific environment under the supervision of a trained professional.
Yeah, so actually the academy is not providing any courses. There are organizations that get approval from the academy to provide these courses. So I apply to the AVEd Academy and I say, this is the course I'm going to teach. This is how it is related to listening and spoken language exam. And then I am teaching it. And the academy, the requirement is to have, you just need to be done with your bachelor's or master's and working full time with children who are deaf and hard of hearing. And that counts as your clinical time. It doesn't have to be something separate, just your work experience, and then mentoring from a certified professional who doesn't have to be a supervisor. So I am sitting here in the US, mentoring somebody in Africa, mentoring people in India, in other parts of the world. So it is pretty flexible. If anybody would like more information, please contact me. And then in January, we hope to have a series of free webinars about auditory verbal therapy and certification that I will send information to Radhika, if you could share it within your circles, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure, Uma. Okay, thank you, Uma, for the wonderful, wonderful answers to the questions and
Thank
the
you.
information about listening and spoken language certification. Most of us professionals don't know about it still. So, and this is provided online too. So it's not necessary that you go to a particular place. And can I request Rajan sir to have the concluding remarks for Uma. Rajan sir.
I also just want to say I'm so sad I can't stay to hear Amoolya's part of the interview, but I know this is being recorded, so Radhika, I hope I get to see it.
Yeah, sure. I'll share the recording. Fine.
Yeah, I think we had a cognitive load so far. And very nice presentation. And though in Indian context, we are familiar with learning disability in regular school-going children, and the learning disability in the other disabilities like hearing impairment and other things. And I think it's a long way to go in India. I think maybe in this particular the program has given a lot of insight, would have given to many people. I think I understand a lot of people from different institutes are taking part in this program. I'm sure they will take a long way to think of NDs in other disabilities. And of course, this also has given a link to Dr. Uma. So I think we will be in touch with you for many more programs in our this part of the world. And I think we will definitely interact with you. And so it was wonderful, the lecture that we had. And very nice of you, Dr. Uma.
Thank you. It is absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to coming back and sharing more with all of you someday. Thank you again for this invitation. I'm really, really grateful to have this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And I'm so sorry, but I have to go. I have to work with a 13-year-old who has profound hearing loss, traumatic brain injury, and it takes us a long time to get through things. So I'm now going to go and practice hearing loss and learning disabilities. All right.
That's fine.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have some questions posted towards Amoolya. So, Amoolya, the next question for you is, what are some of the strategies that can be used to foster working memory in a child with hearing loss and learning disability? I guess this can answer Harshita's question also. What is the management preferred for reducing the cognitive load?
Yes. So Dr. Uma has spoken about working memory, and she has demonstrated very well also what working memory is. So I would like to say that working memory is a temporary storage system, and it is vital for many day-to-day tasks, okay, for us. For example, in following instructions, responding to conversations. So we need to keep in mind what the other person said in order to be able to reply to that. Okay, and also in listening comprehension and reading comprehension, we need to keep in mind what we are reading and what we are listening. Okay, so that we can understand and do things accordingly. So certain activities involving visualization and giving information in a multisensory way, okay, that is using their tactile, auditory, visual, so multisensory basically, and then using mnemonics, okay, and games that involve repeating sequences of information can all improve working memory. So basically what Dr. Uma did, okay, like asking them to repeat certain numbers and then repeating it backwards. So all such kinds of activities can be done to improve working memory. And then we can structure the environment, okay, so that the working memory load can be reduced in children. Okay, for example, Dr. Uma told that if there is 12 plus 4 minus something plus something divided by something, so you ask the child to do the 12 plus 4 first, and then subtract it with something else. So, you know, making it step by step, so that the working memory load is reduced in the child. And also intensive training on working memory tasks, so that working memory capacity can be increased, can improve the working memory in children with hearing loss and learning disability. And usage of FM technology and assistive listening devices can also help in children with hearing loss associated with learning disability. Okay, so that so that we can reduce their auditory fatigue and thereby decreasing the cognitive load, and so that children can memorize better.
Okay. Hereby, I would like to add one more thing. In India, mostly due to the economic conditions, most of the parents are not willing to buy the assistive listening devices, right? So,
Yes.
is there any, do you know of any companies or anything that can provide free assistive listening devices to such children?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Aware of company which provide free assistive listening devices.
Okay, we'll move on with the next question. As Soma ma'am had told earlier, there are norm-referenced and criterion-referenced tests. So, is
Yes.
there a specific diagnostic material for assessing a child with hearing loss and learning disability together?
So, hearing impairment and its associated language deficit makes it difficult to determine whether an underlying learning disability contributes to the hearing impaired child's learning problems, or it is due to the hearing difficulties, as Dr. Uma said. And so in these cases, we must follow an interdisciplinary diagnostic approach to determine whether a hearing impaired child has a learning disability, and to determine the type of disability. Okay, so this approach can include clinician observation, teacher observation, and certain standardized assessment procedures, interpretation, and subsequent recommendations. Okay, there are certain instruments such as the screening instrument for targeting educational risk. That is the sifter. Okay, and there is the preschool sifter as well. Okay, this sifter is used by teachers to rate the children in comparison to other children in the classroom on 15 items. Okay, if the child fails in a specific area, okay, they should be referred for further evaluation. Okay, so the preschool sifter was developed to be used with preschool children, and it is similar to the sifter. And DALI, that is Dyslexia Assessment for Languages of India, is one of the screening tools and assessment tools for dyslexia in regional Indian languages. So it was developed at the National Brain Research Center, and this study was supported by Department of Science and Technology. So in India, there is also one more test called the ELST, that is Early Literacy Screening Test. This also can be used. Okay, but in India, the diagnosis of dyslexia associated with hearing loss has been incomplete because there is absence of standardized, validated assessment tools in regional Indian languages. Okay, but the dyslexia assessment for languages of India contains screening tools for school teachers and assessment tools for psychologists to identify dyslexia. This tool is currently available in 4 Indian languages. Research is still going on in this area, and there is a lack of specific assessment material which is related to diagnose learning disabilities in hearing impaired population. So this is a potential area of research for future professionals.
Yeah, I guess we really lack that specific aspect, like standardized materials that are available, that is specifically available to the Indian culture. So we really lack on that. So moving on with the next question. So as you said earlier, you had mentioned about non-verbal learning disability. What I would like to ask here is, can we really diagnose a child as non-verbal learning disability? And what is the difference between phonological processing disorder and non-verbal learning disability?
Non-verbal learning disability is a subtype of disability wherein they have problems with non-verbal information. For example, attending to the understanding the tone of the voice and understanding the facial expressions and understanding the gestures and interpreting them. Okay, so all these extra linguistic aspects also play a very important role in understanding the message that is intended. For example, by the tone of our voice, we can make out whether it is a command or a sarcastic remark. So these children have difficulties in these areas, but they are linguistically they are very good. Sometimes they speak a lot. Okay. So this NLD, that is non-verbal learning disability, has been researched a lot by Byron, a neuropsychologist at the University of Windsor, and he and his colleagues have identified 2 reliable subtypes of learning disability. They call one group as the basic phonological processing disorder. So these children fit well within our traditional views of language learning disability or specific language impairment. That is, they have difficulties with phonological processing, as I told, like substitution, addition, deletion, all those things will be very difficult for such children. Okay, and these children are characterized by poor speech and language skills and extraordinary difficulty with reading and writing, but they demonstrate a relatively preserved non-verbal problem solving, and their performance IQ is within normal limits, but verbal IQ scores are significantly depressed. Okay. But in contrast to this, non-verbal learning disability children have very good verbal IQ. Okay, and these children, as I already mentioned, they have problems with non-verbal problem solving and visual spatial organizational skills, tactile perception, and complex psychomotor behavior. But on the surface, at least, they appear to have very good language skills, and they talk very often, very excessively, and they use a variety of sentence structures, and they can memorize and repeat vast amount of verbal material, and they also demonstrate average to above average abilities in single word reading and spelling.
So is non-verbal learning disability usually found on those with high functioning autism? Those aspects?
Yes, it could be associated with those with high functioning autism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll move on with the final question. What do you think about the, or can you please give an overview on examining disability inclusion in India's new national education policy? Can this be viewed as a positive, in a positive direction?
Yes, it is definitely something that is going in a positive direction for children with learning disability. So, the National Education Policy announced by India recently, it will help in creating barrier-free access to education for all children with disabilities. Okay, so they plan on including, teaching teachers how to teach children with specific disabilities. Okay, they would make this, a part of all the teacher education programs, and they ensure barrier-free access for all children with disabilities. Okay, as per the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016, and they will also provide assistive devices and appropriate technology-based tools, and language appropriate teaching learning materials will also be made available. And the National Institute for Open Schooling will develop high quality modules to teach Indian Sign Language, and to teach other basic subjects using Indian Sign Language. So this can be highly useful for those with hearing loss along with a learning disability. And children with benchmark disabilities, that is more than 40% of disability, shall have the choice of regular or special schooling. So they might decide whether they want to go for a regular school or a special school. And there are certain resource centers in conjunction with special educators, which will support the rehabilitation and educational needs of learners with severe or multiple disabilities.
Okay. Thank you, Amoolya, for the wonderful answers to all the questions. You have patiently answered each and every query. So I guess it is an expansion in our knowledge field. Any queries to Amoolya can be posted on the chat group. Or on the chat box also. We'll forward these questions to Amoolya on email. Next, we'll move on with the quiz competition. I request the moderator to kindly carry on with the next program.
That was a wonderful session. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Uma Soman, Ms. Amoolya, as well as Radhika Mohan. So next is most awaiting session for the participants. So please enter into the queue room. I request Ms. Gopika to moderate this session.
Before that, I would like to thank the organizers for the wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
We would like to have you again, Amoolya, in future talks. That was a wonderful webinar which you gave. So we would definitely. Rajan sir, any concluding remarks for Amoolya?
Yeah, it was a very nice question and answer session, and the questions were good and answers were too good. Actually, regarding the test for learning disability in hearing loss children, I think the Urdavan Institute in Netherlands, I think they have started about 35-40 years ago on finding out learning disability in deaf children. I remember there was a team visiting Holy Cross College in 1985, where one Dr. Ton and Betty Mas was a speech therapist, and Ton was the special educator. So they were working on learning disability in deaf children at that time itself. But of course, I have moved my interest towards audiology, so so there was not much of the connection between them. Maybe that, if we get in touch with the Woodhaven Institute and Netherlands, I think we should have some good material on this aspect. And Amoolya was too good in presenting the introduction as well as the question and answer section. I think we have a person with whom we can in future interact with, and the future doctor also. So it was very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Very nice, Amoolya, very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Gopika, please go.
Okay, ma'am. Am I audible? Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Gopika, you are audible. You may continue.
Okay. Good evening and welcome all the participants for the quiz competition on insight into learning disability. All participants kindly check the chat box or type kahoot.8 in your Google tab for entering the quiz competition. Enter the game pin displayed on screen. After entering the game pin, an application will ask for your nickname. Ensure that full name is provided as your nickname. Remember the color code for answering. First option is red, second option is blue, third option is yellow, and fourth option is green. I will repeat again. The color code for answering. First option is red, second option is blue, third option is yellow, and fourth option is green.
Gopika, if you have the slide on the quiz instructions, can you please display that?
Okay, ma'am. Is it visible, ma'am?
Not yet visible. We'll just wait on.
Okay. Is it visible now?
1 second. Not yet. Gopika, can you try sharing the screen again?
Some issues with presenting.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just repeat the... Okay. Are you able to share the screen? Okay, I'll just repeat the instructions again. Please type on kahoot.it on your Google tab for entering the quiz competition. The pin for entering into the quiz will be displayed on the screen. You will have 4 options in that, and you will have to remember the color code, which will be again told by the moderator. So you will have about 60 seconds to answer each question. So I request everyone to log in fast and click on the correct answer, because it all depends upon your reaction time.
Radhika, there is a silent period.
Adira Vinod is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Adira, can you repeat the instructions again? Did everyone understand the instructions? If everyone has understood the instructions, we will be providing with the game pin shortly. Yeah, Gopika is displaying the instructions.
Yeah, you can see the instructions again. Enter the pin shown on screen. Enter your full name. Remember the color code. The first option is red. The second option is blue. The third option is yellow. And the fourth option is green. Please remember the color code for answering. Hello, Radhika ma'am.
I can hear you, Gopika. I can hear
Ma'am,
you perfectly.
ma'am, some issues with the presenting. Ma'am, can you just turn on the Kahoot?
Okay, I'll just turn on Kahoot from here.
Okay.
Gopika, can you provide the link?
It is been put up in the chat box, ma'am.
It's already put up in the chat box.
Okay. So, can you please share the link once again because I got logged out in between. Please share the link once again.
I have shared it, ma'am.
Okay. So all the participants are I kindly request all the participants to log into kahoot.it.
Ma'am, are you logging in?
Yeah.
May I place a note?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Fine.
So can you see the screen? So this will be your screen for Kahoot. The pin will be posted here within a short time. Please enter the game pin and after that it will ask for your nickname. Was everyone able to join into kahoot.it? I mean, we'll just post the pin now. Gopika, can you please tell the pin?
Okay, ma'am. Where is the pin number?
Sorry, Gopika, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, where is the pin number?
One second.
Ma'am, I will share it. I will share it. Me.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please, one second. Yeah, so the pin number is, yeah, Gopika, please share the pin number once again.
Okay, ma'am.
The pin number is 1741215. I repeat the pin number again.
1741215. Okay. So we are waiting for more participants to log in. Okay. So already we have 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. More participants, more participants. Okay. We will wait one more minute for all the participants to log in. So after entering into the quiz, you will getting 60 seconds to click on answer. Please listen. After entering into the quiz competition, you will getting 60 seconds to click on each answer. Okay. Anyway, we will start with the game. Around 53 participants. Okay. So here we go. The first question. 3, 2. And the first question is, learning disability often coexists with Red option, attentional and behavioral disorder. Blue option, emotional disorders. Yellow option, sensory impairment. And green option, all of these. I repeat the question. Learning disability often coexists with red option, attentional and behavioral disorders. Blue option, emotional disorders. Yellow option, sensory impairment. And green option, all of these. So we are getting more number of answers, 44, 45. Okay, 30 seconds more. 28, 27. Okay. 22, 20 more seconds. Okay. The last 10 seconds. Learning disability often coexists with red option. Okay. So the answer is all of these. We'll see who is the leading position. So in the leading position it is Deepthi Jose. Okay, anyway, we will move to the second question. And the second question is strategies not used for helping kids with written composition difficulties. The red option is encourage kids to complete written working stages. Blue option, use sarcastic and abstract sentences. Yellow option, encouraging activities at home that support practicing writing. And the green option is assist kids to write about topics of interest to them. I will repeat the question. Strategies not used for helping kids with written composition difficulties. The red option is encourage kids to complete written working stages. Blue option, use sarcastic and abstract sentences. Yellow option, encouraging activities at home that support practicing writing. And the green option is assist kids to write about topic of interest to them. So we are getting more answers, 44, okay, 48. So 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the answer is use sarcastic and abstract sentences. Okay, we'll see who is leading the second question. Okay, it is Nivetya Maria. Okay, anyway, we will see the third question. And the third question is, most people with LDs are resilient and learn to manage challenges and achieve success because red option, understanding their learning disability and what helps them learn. Blue option, learning how to set realistic goals to solve problems and to make good choices. Yellow option, being open to asking for and getting help and not giving up when things getting hard. And green option is all of these. I will repeat the question. Most people with learning disability are resilient and learn to manage challenges and achieve success because red option, understanding their learning disability and helps them learn. Blue option, learning how to set realistic goals and problem solving. Yellow option, being open to ask and getting help and never giving up. And green option is all of these. So 38 answers and 10 more seconds. Okay, more number of answers are getting. Okay, so we'll see who is leading after the third question. And it is Febin Joseph. Okay, we'll move to the next question. The fourth question is, among dash is not a phonological awareness skill. The red option is segmenting, the blue option is syllabization, yellow option is blending, and green option is manipulating. I will repeat the question. Among dash is not a phonological awareness skill. The red option, segmenting, blue option, syllabization, yellow option, blending, and green option is manipulating. Okay, we are getting answers so fast. 41 answers, 42 answers, and 30 more seconds. Twenty more seconds, more to answer. 12, 11, 10. 10 more seconds, 46 answers. There are so many yet to answer. Okay, so the answer is syllabization, and we'll see who is leading after the fourth question. And it is Meena S. Okay, we'll move to the next question, the fifth question. And the fifth question is, people with learning disability have red option below to above average intelligence, blue option average to above average intelligence, yellow option below to average intelligence, and the green option is any intelligence level. I will repeat the question. People with learning disability have red option below to above average intelligence, blue option average to above average intelligence, yellow option below to average intelligence, and the green option is any intelligence level. Okay, 30 more seconds. Answer so fast. 44 answers. 13, 12, 10 more seconds. 8, 6. Okay, so the answer is average to above average intelligence. And we'll see who is leading after the fifth question. And it is Nibetia Maria again. Okay, we'll move to the next question. And the sixth question is, accurate diagnosis of learning disability can be at dash years of age. Red option at 2 to 3 years of age, blue option at 5 to 7 years of age, yellow option at 1 year of age, and the green option is after 9 years of age. Accurate diagnosis of learning disability can be at dash years of age. Red option 2 to 3 years of age, blue option 5 to 7 years of age, yellow option 1 year of age, and green option is after 9 years of age. 29 seconds and 43 answers. 20 more seconds. Okay, we'll wait for the rest of them to answer. 12, 11, 10 more seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, and the answer is at 5 to 7 years of age. And we'll see who is leading. And again, Nivetya Maria. We'll move to the seventh question. And the seventh question is, dyslexia is a form of learning disability that has been described throughout the 20th century as red option word blindness, blue option agnosia, yellow option word level reading difficulty, and green option sentence level reading difficulty. Dyslexia, a form of learning disability that has been described throughout the 20th century as red option word blindness, blue option agnosia, yellow option word level reading difficulty, and green option sentence level reading difficulty. So 36 answers, 30 seconds. Okay, answers so fast. 20 seconds more. 15 more seconds. 10 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is word blindness. So we'll see who is leading. And again, Nivetya Maria is leading. We'll move to the next question. The eighth question is expand MBDS. And red option is minimal brain difference syndrome. Blue option is minimal brain disability syndrome. Yellow option is minimal brain disorder syndrome. And green option is minimal brain dysfunction syndrome. Expand MBDS. Red option is minimal brain difference syndrome. Blue option is minimal brain disability syndrome. Yellow option is minimal brain disorder syndrome. And the green option is minimal brain dysfunction syndrome. Okay, we are getting 41 answers. 15 more seconds. 42 answers. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is minimal brain dysfunction syndrome. And we'll move to the next question. Before, we have to see who is leading. Okay, ninth question. So the ninth question is phonetic retrieval rapid automation naming is related to dash brain areas. Red option is bilateral temporal, blue option bilateral frontal, yellow option is bilateral frontal and temporal, and the green option is bilateral frontal and occipital. Phonetic retrieval rapid automation naming is related to dash brain areas. Red option is bilateral temporal, blue option is bilateral frontal, yellow option is bilateral frontal and temporal, and the green option is bilateral frontal and occipital. 40 answers, 25 more seconds. So this is the ninth question. Ten more seconds to answer. Okay, we'll see who is leading after this question. And again, it is Nivedya Maria. And here we are going to the last question, which is very important. LD as a disorder of dash. Red option, intellectual deficit. Blue option, emotional disturbance. Yellow option, economic disadvantage. And green option is heterogeneity. LD as a disorder of dash. Red option is intellectual deficit. Blue option, emotional disturbance. Yellow option is economic disadvantage. And the green option is heterogeneity. So the final question. 42 answers, 30 seconds more. Twenty-four, 23, 22, 20 seconds more, and 44 answers. Ten more seconds. Sum it to answer. And the answer is heterogeneity. And now we will see who is in third position, second position, and in the first position. Okay, in third position, it is Susan Uman. And in second position, Sania Mariam. And in first position, it is Nivedya Maria. Congratulations, Nivedya Maria. So our winners are Susan Uman and Nivedya Maria. Congratulations. So congratulations winners and prize winners. Please message us personally so that we can ensure your receipt of prize. Thank you.
Thank you all for your participation and congratulations to the winners. And there is a small request to all the quiz winners. Please send your bank account details to the organizing secretary, Ms. Radhika Mohan, to avail your cash prize. Now, I hand over the platform to Ms. Adira Vinod to express word of thanks.
A very good evening to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks for this event. First, I would like to thank the management for allowing to conduct the webinar. I would like to thank our Deputy Director, Professor N.D. Rajan, for his countless support. Next, I would like to thank our speakers, Amoolya ma'am, Uma ma'am, and Aladini ma'am, for their immense sharing of knowledge. Organizing a webinar is not an easy task, thereby extending my sincere thanks to the organizing team for the sleepless night and hardship that went into the conductance of the webinar. Last but not the least, on behalf of the team, Speech Language Pathology and Audiology, sincerely thanking all the participants who attended the webinar. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali and Navaratri in advance. Have a wonderful evening and hope to see you all for the future webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, Adira. Rajan sir, would you like to give any concluding remarks for the webinar?
Yeah, first of all, I thank everybody, and especially the international speaker and national speakers, and the participants, and the participants for the quiz, and the organizers. So I thank everybody on behalf of the our university, Nagam Mission Research Foundation, and on behalf of our Department of Audiology and Speech Language Pathology, and on my own behalf. And I thank everybody for participating in this program and being there for almost 2 hours from 6 to 8. And this course program was a special mention. And it was very nice, and many people have participated, and the results are instantaneous. And the management is very happy to deliver the cash prize to them once we receive their bank details. So thanks everybody, and especially the organizers, the speech section side, Adira, Vinod, and Radhika, and everybody, and for the wonderful arrangements and wonderful presentation. So thank you all, and we'll keep meeting in future programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Everyone out here, please fill up the feedback form which you receive in your mail ID. That is to receive your e-certificate. And any queries, please convey through WhatsApp group, as well as you can even mail us. And this is the end of our session. Once again, I thank you everyone, and good night.